New York.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
New York City.
All right, boxing fans, what's going on? This is your boy, Big Brother R. We're in the Paint Radio. We're here at Planet Hollywood for the big press conference between Bernard Hopkins and Chad Dawson. All right, this fight's going to be taking place in Atlantic City, Jersey, April 28th. I got to tell you, this is going to be a memorable fight coming up because apparently there's some bad blood between these two guys. I don't think they really like each other, okay, because of what stemmed at the last fight. I know a lot of boxing fans, a lot of fight fans looking forward to this. You know what? Instead of wasting time out here talking about it, let's go into the press conference and see what it's all about.
It's a pleasure now for me to introduce to you Gary Shaw to make some opening comments about the fight. Gary?
Bernard, let me guarantee you one thing. Chad Dawson in this fight will be sensational. Guaranteed. Hey, that's New York. It's New York. This fight will not end like fight one. Chad was like no one I've ever seen in the ring, and I've been with Chad most of his career. He was angry, he was disturbed, he was frustrated. He wanted to fight Bernard Hopkins, and he wanted to give the fans their money's worth, and it didn't come to pass. I will tell you that that will not happen in this fight. This is going to be a fight to the finish. This is a once and for all. This is Bernard's, Hopkins, goodbye to South Jersey and Philadelphia. Chad Dawson is the best 175-pounder in the world. I've always believed it. I've always believed that he's been underappreciated because of his style, because he makes his boxing look effortless, and because of that, he doesn't get the accolades or the appreciation from the fans that he should. I want to present to you the man that I know is the best 175-pounder in the world, the man that will walk out on April 28th victorious, once and for all, bad Chad Dawson.
A couple of things. I'm not going to be able to be long, but I want to thank HBO, Ken Hirschman, everybody who lobbied for this fight to happen again. I know a lot of fans were disappointed after the last fight, but I just want to make one thing clear. On that night, I came to fight. I came to fight. I wanted to fight Bernard Hopkins, and I was looking forward to dethroning him that night. But when he pulled the stunt he pulled, which was a stunt to me because it was a stunt, it messed up all of my plans. So now I'm back here. I gotta fight him again. I gotta go through the same things I went through before. When, in all actuality, after that night, I should have been the champion. I don't know how he feels about it. I don't know how you Bernard Hopkins fans feel about it. You guys are still running around saying this guy is a legend, but legends don't act the way this guy acts. They don't do the things he does. I would have fought Bernard Hopkins with one finger that night. One finger, and probably still would have won. But I'm not gonna go on crying about that stuff. But this fight, I just want a fair fight. I want Bernard to come out and fight. I don't want no low blows, no headbutts, no. Let's just be two men like the men we are, and let's fight. That's all I want, Bernard. That's all I want. I just want to fight. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you. Let me just say make a few comments before I'm going to introduce Team Hopkins. Gary Shaw said that Chad Dawson was angry, frustrated, and disturbed. But he's never seen him like that. Well, that's no reason to go and lift your opponent off your feet and slam him to the ground just because you're angry, frustrated, and disturbed. There really is no place in boxing, and I agree with you, Chad, this should be a boxing fight and not a wrestling match. And I do hope that you leave your wrestling tactics at home and come to fight, and that you're not going to be angry, frustrated, and disturbed, because I do know that the Athletic Commission here in Atlantic City is not going to tolerate that kind of behavior. The other thing is, you know, WBC or any other sanctioning organization, they don't make fights. They certainly don't make fights at that level. And there was no reason for Bernard Hopkins to take the fight. Just because the WBC ordered it, there were many other options. But it just shows you what Bernard Hopkins is all about, what he's made of. That he accepted this challenge, and he's going to set the record straight once and for all. Naazim Richardson, Bernard Hopkins' longtime trainer, is here, and I'd like to ask him up to the podium to make some comments.
Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to thank everybody that made this fight happen. Richard and everybody at HBO, and Mr. Shaw and his team. Next time, no chance since he was a young athlete, since he was a young kid, and he's a very talented athlete. But the challenge is now, as we deal with the history of this month, and we talk about throwbacks and like he said, legends, I key on certain things. Like when the young man was speaking earlier, he said, I gotta fight this man again. He didn't say, I get to fight this man again. One says one thing to me, the other one says something else to me. And I key on small things like that when I watch athletes. This athlete sitting to my right is cut from a cloth that I'm sure you guys remember. We've been in the losses here of late, and we've seen the history. When we've lost the Goody Petronellis, we've lost the Angelo Dundees, we've lost the Joe Fraziers. These guys are what we call old school. This is what we call legacy and history. This guy's cut from that crew. And like I said, he's cut from one of those old school guys, like the great Bowie Fischer out of Philadelphia. This is our history. Butch Lewis and all these guys that we had lost, Bernard Hopkins is cut from that cloth. So I challenge the reporters and everybody to remember history and know the history of this sport. Reporters, there's nothing can be said about this man we haven't said. So even as a reporter, you're going to be challenged on this particular outing. Because now you have to find something to write about this man in the magnitude that befits him. And like I said, you've already written so much about Bernard Hopkins. Where do I go now? You know what I mean? So your creativity is going to have to come out. Mr. Smith and all you guys have been around and been writing about this man for years. You know what I mean? Because he is a legend. He has proven his legacy time and time again. When I look at Chad Dawson, I see a young man who has a future in front of him. But I've also seen a man like Bernard Hopkins do damage to young fighters as far as their future went. You know, all of this sounds great. When you go to the film, you see, I argue with Bernard after the fight. They took me to the film. I said, Bernard, he didn't hook your leg. You know what I mean? And his massage guy said, no, look, and he showed me the film because I couldn't believe it. I was like, he literally hooks your leg in MMA. This is boxing. Okay, we can say what we want. We saw the film. You know what I mean? So you can say what you want. This is rap. This is rap. We're talking. I gave him his opportunity to talk. I'm talking now. So I was courteous to him. I begged him to be courteous to me. But like I say, we show how we raised. My thing is, go to the film. You'll see what I'm talking about. But you won't have to, because in the second fight, Bernard Hopkins will be the legend that you've come to know, that you've come to understand. You know what I mean? And this young man, you'll see them guys hug in the ring and shake hands and nod heads and talk about good fight and all that after the fight. You'll see it at the end of the fight, because we've seen it time and time again. So all I ask you to do is I challenge the supporters of Dawson, and I challenge the Bernard Hopkins supporters that we should fill that arena up. We got two guys from the East Coast, and they on the East Coast home now. We should fill that arena up. So I thank you guys for your time and your patience.
Thank you, Naazim. You know, it always is really an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce this legend. And I'm not going to go through all of that again, the legend and so on. We've heard all of that. But what I do want you to tell your readers or listeners or the people who are going to be watching at home, you have an opportunity on April the 28th at the Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City to see one of undisputably, you know, those two sites, they might not agree on much, but I think they all agree that's one of the best fighters ever to lace up the gloves. And you're gonna have an opportunity to see him for as little as $25. So I urge you, bring your families, bring your kids, bring people to Atlantic City to go and be part, to witness live Bernard the Executioner Hopkins. Please welcome Bernard the Executioner Hopkins.
That's what we like.
Short and sweet.
Right to the one-on-ones.
Are we doing a face-off or not? That tells you everything you got to know. Hopkins doesn't want to do a face-off because he don't want to look in Dawson's face in the eyes and know what's coming on April 28th. You're looking at the truth.
Cameras come on.
Cyclonus Walker, In the Pain Radio, with Brother Naazim Richardson, training the Bernard Hopkins, Sugar Shane Mosley, you know the champions. Brother Naazim, so what do you see for the next fight with Bernard? Is it going to be a hard fight with him and Chad Dawson, being that they have bad blood from the previous fight?
Well, bad blood, like I said, is one thing. But like I said, what has to factor in is when we get to the fundamentals of the sport, which we know Bernard is sound in. And I gave Chad credit that he was too. And with everybody talking to this kid, hyping him up, telling him to rough up. And they don't even teach roughing up no more in the gyms. These kids only hear the word rough up. They don't know what it means. So if you see him or Victor Ortiz, they go to rough up, they wind up foul. Because it's really not in their character. You know what I mean?
True
But
enough.
you know, first pay-per-view fight for Chad, maybe it'd be a little more settled down this fight.
All right. Being that, you know, he look a little rattled, you think his anger is fear Bernard? Or
I don't believe these young warriors carry fear in them. There's a nerve setting that some guys mentally don't have a stability as much as other fighters. But I don't think it's so much fear, it's just that sometimes these guys have to push themselves past that mark. Right. And I think that's what Chad is now with all the barking. And he's even coming at me, and I'm like, I took him away as an amateur fighter. I mean, I worked his corner and everything. I know him since he was a kid. He's a decent little fighter, but the gorilla thing is not real.
all right, he's using anger as motivation.
Yeah, it's not real.
All right. Thank you, Brother Naazim.
Amen. Thank you for having me.
We're here at the Hopkins and Dawson press conference. Obviously, a lot of bad blood between these two gentlemen stemming from the last fight. Dawson calling Hopkins a punk was one of the highlights here. You know, and another big thing about Bernard Hopkins, he chose not to even speak to the media or Dawson or his supporters. So April 28th, rematch, Jersey, it's going to be big, it's going to be hot. Should be there.